Okay, everybody. It is officially the top of the hour, or so my watch says. I want to firstly welcome you to Machine Metrics webinar series. This is our second in a series of live reports on the impact of COVID-19 on manufacturing. We're very excited for our series today. I'm firstly just going to go through a couple agenda items. And review some basic points before we get started, and then we'll kick things off. But for those of us who were here last time, we're going to follow a very similar agenda. Go through a quick introduction, followed by a live discussion with our amazing panel, who I'll be introducing momentarily. We'll then do a live Q&A and also review what's coming next within our series. But before we get started, a couple key points. Firstly, this webinar is being recorded, so you will have to hear my raspy voice on recording yet again. We will send out a link to the recording after this webinar for everybody who is here now, or even those who registered and did not attend. So, fingers crossed you're able to stick with us the whole time. I think we had, about 300 or 400 people sign up for the last one, and we had hundreds in there until the end, which was really cool. But we understand if you have to go, and you'll get a recording after which. Questions are constantly and always welcome. You can use the QA functionality within your Zoom navigation to ask those questions at any time. I will be doing my best to bring those into the conversation. We have a list of questions that we're hoping to work through with our panel. As it turned out last time, our attendees had even better questions, so I started with those. But please feel free to pop those in there anytime. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. For those of you that don't know, my name is Graham Emmerman. I'm the VP of Marketing and Machine Metrics, and I'll be your host and moderator again today. More importantly, we are joined by these amazing panelists. We have Mike Tomasi, President and CEO of AccuRounds, Bill Berrien, CEO of Pindell Global Precision, Bill Beither, who is our CEO and co-founder, and we're so thankful to have him here again with us today. And we're thankful also to have Anissa Mathana of Pioneer Service. Mike, thanks so much for referring Anissa our way. We're so thankful to have you joining us. And I think that, personally, we couldn't really ask for a better panel to talk with us today. They'll be able to introduce themselves momentarily. But before we get started, I just want to do a quick little introduction. Medical experts have warned of ventilator shortages in the fight against this novel coronavirus. Hospitals have become overwhelmed with patients who require breathing assistance, and as a result of this illness that's afflicted hundreds of thousands and killed thousands more as well. The problem that we're seeing is that these life-saving devices often require the coordination of upwards of 100 different manufacturers and suppliers, including places struggling to respond to the coronavirus themselves, right? So a massive effort is currently underway to enable existing US manufacturing and supply chain for the treatment and delivery of these devices to COVID-19 patients. And US manufacturers are stepping up to the challenge. From retooling their capabilities to reorganizing materials, supply to staggering shifts and using precautionary wear on the shop floor. These manufacturers, some of them who we're fortunate enough to have joining us today, are doing everything that they can to ramp up production while keeping up with this growing demand. So that's really what we're here to discuss today, and you're going to hear from some of those manufacturers. I'm so excited to have them joining us today. As a first step, I just want them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their business. Just to get started, I'd love to just kind of go clockwise based on my screen. I'd love Bill Berrien for you to get started, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about how COVID has impacted your business. You're just on mute.
Great. So Bill Berrien here, CEO and owner of Pindell Global Precision. Acquired the company. We were founded in 1947. I acquired the company in 2012. And actually within about 6 months went to visit Mike for some best practices. So Mike, thank you. We are located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We have 2 shifts, about 75 employees. And we're, again, contract manufacturer of precision machine parts. So we're about 75% turned parts, the balance being milled parts, a lot of Swiss CNC and multi-axis. So we do, again, as a contract manufacturer, do a lot of different parts, about 2,000 plus for different customers. So our exposure here to ventilators was on March 20th in the afternoon, getting a purchase order for 5 ventilator part numbers needed at volume within a week. And we were able to turn that around and start shipping that volume within a week, and within that week actually received 2 more. So would love to go into more detail, but that would be our introduction of Pindell Global Precision for the panel. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. We're so glad to have you, and definitely backed by popular demand. Everybody was enthralled with your presentation from last time. We're really happy to have you. I now want to introduce Mike. Take it away, Mike.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Michael Tomasi, President and CEO of AccuRounds. We are a contract precision machining company, very similar to Bill and Anissa. Shafts, pins, valves for medical, defense, semi, robotics, emerging tech. I am a second-generation family business owner. The company was founded in 1976. We've been impacted by COVID in a little bit of a different way. We are in the pipeline to make ventilator parts. We are not currently making them, but we've been impacted on the vaccine side. 2 of our top accounts do work either testing or manufacturing vaccines, parts that we make go into a centrifuge that processes 80% of the world's flu vaccine. And we've been told that that type of equipment is going to be manufacturing whatever vaccine comes out for COVID. So we've had pull-ins and we have to ramp up production on that end. We also have 2 shifts for 75 team members strong. And I also am serving on the emergency response team for Massachusetts for manufacturing, which has been an incredible experience. We're just almost 3 weeks in, a couple of days shy of 3 weeks from launching this. We're meeting every other day. We just got off a call at noon with 45 people in the medical community in Boston, manufacturers, government personnel, trying to take the demand of our state and pivoting the supply base to make masks, gowns, face shields, and ventilator parts. I'm on the ventilator project team. There's a couple of local projects out of MIT and Worcester Polytechnical Institute that are looking to fast track some stopgap solutions on the ventilator side, which we may be able to participate as well.
I am really excited to ask you more questions about that as well. Thanks, Mike. And Anissa, we're so glad to have you joining our panel. Welcome.
Sorry about that. Good morning, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Anissa Mathana. I am president and co-owner of Pioneer Service. Since 1990, it's actually our 30th anniversary later this month. I've been president and co-owner since 1993. And like Bill and Mike, we are also a contract manufacturer of precision machine parts. We're about 70% Swiss machining. And then we also have CNC turning centers that go up to 3.5 inch in diameter, 6-inch chuck. We are an AS 9100 certified company. We provide parts for all different industries. Medical devices was about 20% of our revenue. Because of the mix right now, it's going to be approximately 70%. That's the goal. It's about 50% now. Our revenue has come down drastically because of a lot of our customers have put a hold on their shipments and on their orders. So we're compensating for medical devices, and also we have one of our major customers is manufactures parts for the biomedical industry, and so that has within the last week we've shipped them about 3 months of releases. So we've seen a significant increase in business there. We also make parts for ventilators, for stretchers, and other medical devices, and we have committed to our current customers. They are ramping up quite a bit right now. So we are in the process of doing that. We have 35 employees. We're located in Addison, Illinois, Chicagoland area, not too far from O'Hare Airport.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. Incredible efforts that you guys are putting forth today. Last but not least, our own Bill Byther, CEO and co-founder. Bill, always a pleasure to have you.
Great. Thank you, Graham, and good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Bill Byther. I am the CEO and co-founder of Machine Metrics. Machine Metrics was founded back in 2015. Really what we are is an industrial IoT platform for machines and manufacturing. We make it very easy to connect to machines, collect and contextualize that data, and drive actionability on the factory floor. Some of the use cases we support are like machine monitoring, condition monitoring. We support predictive analytics and visualization, production visualization, and many other use cases around machine data. And some of the things that have changed just as a result of COVID, one, being a software company, we're pretty well suited to work remote. But we do have a lot of our customers that come online. We often go on site to help our customers install. Although because our product is, we've made it very simple, most of our customers do not require that. So we've gone from about a 75% or 25% on-site install to only, well, basically 0% as our customers aren't allowing us on site, understandably. But we were fortunate in that our product was easy enough that our customers could continue to move forward, and we're continuing to work and expand our business. But what you'll also see, and I'll be reporting that in a bit, is just we're able to collect data from all of our customers, and we have hundreds of plants that we're connected to worldwide. Concentration, though, in North America. We're streaming data from thousands of machines, and we're able to really get a sense of the overall industry trends based on our customers who allow us to use that data to report on the general industrial trends. And we've seen a definite drop since COVID, and we'll report on that in a little bit later. The other thing that we've done is we've made Machine Metrics free for our customers and others who are making parts to really help with the COVID pandemic. So if you're making ventilator parts or PPE materials, where please talk to us, and we can work with you for free machine monitoring. And with that, I'm sure we'll go into a lot more detail, especially on the data. But I'll let you take it from here, Graham.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So glad to have you. And as always, and we're definitely going to get to some of that macro data a little bit later. But let's focus a little bit on the shop floor today. Obviously, many of you have already been supplying within the medical vertical. Talk to me a little bit about what type of pivots or changes that you've made at all today to meet the current demand that you're being faced with. Let's start with Anissa, and then we'll go to Bill and then to Mike.
Well, we began to ramp up because of an expected increase in business in the last couple of years. We've gone through a transformation from old manufacturing to new manufacturing in the last 6 years. And so we were expecting a lot more business. So it was almost, I wouldn't call it easy, but because we've been making these parts, it was just a matter of putting it on more machines. And that's what we've been doing now to supply those parts and meet the demands of our customer. In all honesty, within minutes of the shelter at home ordered by our governor, I received personal phone calls, emails, letters from 7 of my major customers telling me, please do not close. Make sure you're supplying us parts. So it was really just a matter of shifting. We do a lot of blanket orders for those customers who are thankful that we had enough on our shelves to keep them happy. But we see now a lot in the pipeline, a lot of parts that we're quoting that we didn't quote in the past, changes they're making, prototyping. So we're really accommodating them and making sure that we're able to deliver those parts and just really make sure that we're a resource to them on not just making parts, but giving them the feedback, you know, helping with the engineering, shipping parts, prototype parts to their homes, whatever it takes.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to get into some of that rapid prototyping a little bit later. Bill, you know, for you, we heard last time a lot of this, but we have so many new attendees today. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have done, to meet the demand, and to make sure that your organization is, able to, continue to do what you do.
Great, thanks, Graham. I think in general in this manufacturing age and, specifically in this COVID period, the solution is all about, it's all about speed. And it is about looking at your entire manufacturing process from order to receipt to making the parts to fulfilling the parts and, attacking it very aggressively like you would a machining process. How do you eliminate the bottlenecks? How do you, fulfill those parts to that customer, much, much more quickly? Where our lead time might have been, 4 weeks plus before, what we showed ourselves in this exercise around 5 parts that were needed simultaneously and immediately was, hey, you gotta think differently. And I believe that some of our takeaways from this, and as an industry group, as a advanced manufacturing sector, are going to be much, much more is possible. And speed to market, lower lead times, meeting that customer demand. But we can talk about it in a little bit. But I actually think the biggest barrier right now, including in this COVID period, is changing the mindsets of sourcing and buying entities at OEMs. That the legacy model around supply chain is in Asia, I'm beholden to them, I've got all of this, going wrong. The reality is the solution is right in your back door, right in your backyard, but you got to think differently, and you got to put those, those demands out there of what you need and how quickly you need it. So, love to explore that more. But that's been a little bit of a showcase of how we've had to, think very differently and very aggressively around fulfilling these customer needs.
Yeah, the reorganization of supply chain is definitely something that's, we're seeing that discussion quite prevalent today. And in reality, it's never been more important, as many of us, and manufacturers and OEMs are scrambling to figure out how to fulfill that demand. Mike, I'd love to hear a little bit more about, on your shop floor and through your business, how you guys are, enabling to keep up with demand and managing your situation on the shop floor.
Sure, similar to Bill and Anissa, but it's not more a matter of us pivoting and changing over our operation. It's more of accelerating what we're doing. We've received a lot of pull-ins, the acceleration of orders, which has been mentioned. So how do we gear up and team up for that? I think the challenge, and I'm thinking that Bill and Anissa may be experiencing this as well. We have about 10% of our team members out because of what's happening, whether they have immune deficiencies or other situations that put them at risk. They've chosen, and rightfully so, to stay home and stay out of harm's way. So we've really had to become nimble and had a lot of different changes over the last 3 or 4 weeks on the shop floor. So it really gets down to that hourly, daily scheduling looking what you have to match your team members on site with the equipment that's available, with the work that needs to be done, and having a very fluid system to analyze that and a good communication flow between your sales group and your production and operations team and engineering in between make sure everything's getting processed accordingly. So, you know, we've basically opened the shop up to work 24/7. We have 2 shifts that cover 18 to 20 hours a day, yet we're willing to stay open for anybody that wants to come in on off hours. If they want to work more hours, Saturdays, even Sundays. In some cases, they prefer to work with less people in the shop. From just a pure safety risk standpoint, we're allowing that. We've split up lunches into 3 or 4 groups, breaks. So we're being extremely flexible on that end. We're meeting at a minimum of 2 to 3 times a week with our team, huddling every day with key groups, in some cases multiple huddles a day. So really enhancing the communication and addressing, you know, the operations of the day, as well as what's happening on the outside that's impacting, you know, our company and advanced manufacturing in general.
Yeah, communication, right? Never been more important. Right before we started, you told us that this was your 3rd straight Zoom call, so we're thankful for you to join us on your 3rd. So, you know, Bill, you know, our Bill, you know, we're hearing, you know, how some manufacturers are, you know, retooling or revamping, you know, or even just accelerating, you know, what they're already doing today. You know, obviously, you know, Machine Metrics, we collect all sorts of, you know, data on this type of thing. You know, we got hundreds of emails after our last, you know, webinar on, you know, what we're seeing in the data. You know, would you care to share some of those insights now, so we can learn a little bit more about those trends and, you know, how we're seeing it affect the overall industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and share a couple slides here. Can you see that okay? Great. So so this here is so I'll start by showing kind of what the distribution of our customers, our manufacturers are within North America, just to give you an idea of where the data is coming from. And you can see, you know, pretty much where there's manufacturing hotspots in the country, and also in Canada and Mexico. We have installations. What we do is we collect the machine utilization data, and what this tells you is if the machine that we're connected to is in operation or not, and then we look at the utilization of that over a 24/7 period of time. And by tracking this over time, we can really determine sort of industrial trends. And just to give you an example of what that looks like, this was essentially, I'm publishing this data every day on my LinkedIn. So if you're not linked in to me, feel free to send out a request. I'm happy to accept that, or just follow me, and then you'll see these daily updates. We're able to, you know, look at changes, you know, day by day, but also more general macro trends. And what you see with the chart on the left is machine utilization. You can look at 2018, which is red, 19 is green, and then the solid, the thicker blue line is this year, 2020. And what you'll see is that we had a nice ramp up in 2020. We were tracking really well, not to the 2018 levels, but much better than especially the latter half of 2019. And then, you know, we were looking at this data when the pandemic started and did not see the drop right away. As you can see, it was about March, I think it was March 11th or so, when we started to see a pretty rapid drop in machine utilization. And this corresponded to when the automotive OEMs shut down. So you could definitely see the impact of that, especially you'll see in the next slide in the automotive segment. And then fortunately, we've seen a bit of a leveling off over the past week and a half. So this drop we saw slight drops in most industry segments, primarily automotive, but it looks like, at least for now, that drop has stopped and we've stabilized. So that's a good sign. And you can see that the chart on the right is just the last 30 days. You could see, you know, we were dropping, and then it stabilized in the last week or so. So this just gives you an idea of our distribution of industry. I'll point out that we'll talk a little bit about automotive and aerospace. It's a smaller segment of our customer base. We do have you know, quite a few of the contract manufacturers, heavy industry, medical device. We're definitely weighted on the medical device and equipment. And then just other industries that fall out of these main categories. And then this gives you the idea of the segment over the last 30 days. As we saw the drop, you can see that was heavily determined by automotive, which actually came back. And what we're seeing is that the automotive plants, mostly like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, they are retooling for medical in a lot of cases. So that was surprising to me. I was really surprised and impressed how these industries that are focused specifically in automotive were able to retool to medical so fast. I mean, it's really a testament to just how, I guess, just how good we are at making these fast changes. And I know that we have our panelist here today can really talk more about that. But some other things to really note, you could see aerospace did not drop initially, but it's starting to drop now. That probably there's more of a lag through aerospace than there is in automotive. Medical has stayed pretty flat, slightly up. What we've seen is that so our customers that are more focused on elective procedures are having more issues. If they're not able to retool, they're seeing slowdown. And then those that are at all related to making ventilator parts or PPE or more I guess emergency type procedures, they're doing very well. So it pretty much evens out. So that's just to give you an idea of of what our segments look like. And then we did survey, this is actually the same data we had a couple of weeks ago of what how our customers are responding. And more than half got back to us, and 80% are running at full production. This data is a couple of weeks old now, unlike our utilization data, which is updated daily. 12% are reducing their operations, and about 8% are completely shut down. And that's the data we've gotten from our customer base. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'd love to kind of hear more about sort of the specific I guess experiences that our panelists have really seen and how that relates to the data that we've been sharing.
Yeah, so I mean, with that, I can only imagine. I have a number of ways I want to bring this conversation around. Data, at the machine level, the factory level, and the industry levels. But if our panelists do have any thoughts and responses, I'd love to go around quickly and see if that's reflective of what they're seeing as well.
So the day that California shut down, our major customers, our two major customers were electrical vehicles, and the business went away just like that. And we replaced those electrical vehicles parts with medical parts. And so, and again, because we had blanket orders in place, we were prepared. But I do believe that, Bill, your charts really represent the fact that there's so much standardization in processes, tooling, training, that the SWIFT is not as bad as it would have been years back. With all the tools that we have today, I know firsthand, my machines make precision parts. They can make precision parts for any industry. And so as long as things are standardized, the switch can be very easy. Again, probably not the best word, not very easy, but much easier than it would have been 5-10 years ago.
Interesting. What about you? What about you, Mike or Bill? Have you guys had the same experience?
Yeah, I agree with Anissa. The flexibility of our equipment. It's just a matter of getting a print and program a machine and getting it. You might have to get some tooling, but you can make that switch pretty easy. I think Bill's chart certainly points to what I just mentioned about. In some cases, shops may remain busy. We've been fortunate. We had a couple of smaller customers just pull out and shut down, but all of our key accounts are humming and pulling stuff in. But the fact that we don't have the manpower, the people power on the floor to do it is going to impact our utilization. So we've seen a drop pretty similar to the numbers Bill presented internally for that reason, alone.
Yeah, likewise here, Graham. We maybe about the past week, we started seeing a drop off in order volumes coming in on a daily basis. And it is a cautionary. I don't know. We've found some correlation in the past with the lower oil prices, frankly. So it's a little bit of a double whammy here. Not that we don't sell much directly into oil and gas, but we feel that some of our customers must. So it is a little environment of pulling your horns in, you got the great teams and all, so you want to keep everyone together. But I foresee there's going to be a little bit of shared sacrifice, within our company and possibly within the industry if you're not all in for medical. But it's obviously nothing compared to what the service industries, hotels and restaurants and all that are facing. But that would just be my, aligned with the data. There's going to be some softness, I think.
Yeah, and I think you obviously in the industry level we see those correlations made possible. On the factory floor, for example, I heard acceleration. I heard the ability to leverage new machinery and new equipment to quickly transform your ability to make certain products. How is data leveraged on the shop floor today? That's enabled your various factories to be agile in these times. We could do kind of a reverse order, starting maybe with Bill and going back around this time.
Sure. I think that data is just absolutely essential. I mean, all three of our companies, these, where we are in advanced manufacturing, it's just not your granddaddy's machine shop. I mean, it is, where in the past, dark, dirty, dangerous, it is all about smart, safe, and sustainable these days with, totally powered by data. And it is a digitized model that we're working off of that goes into a digitized CAM system that is pushing it out to, quality assurance sheets that's flowing through the ERP system. So it is all about the data. And, frankly, that machine monitoring piece is a crucial feedback loop there to the team on how is the production going? How is your, once you lose that spindle time, you're not getting it back. And so it is all about the data. And I think that's also just the great opportunity. I think there's going to be great things, coming out of this unfortunate period here, but because data is so powerful.
Mm. And what about our other panelists? Maybe start with you, Mike, and then to Anissa.
No question. I totally agree with Bill. Data has kind of taken over the last couple of years here with the addition of machine metrics, of course, and some of the quality tools that we've implemented. We have a scanner that scans parts in seconds that used to take minutes and hours to measure, and we're capturing that data electronically, and it's stored. We purchased a portable CMM a couple of months ago, and that's just so much faster and not only inspecting a part, but having that data to analyze. I joked a couple of years ago, but it's kind of a serious situation now that we need a data analyst, whether it's training up our team, a bunch of people on our team to analyze data better, but the data is allowing us to make better decisions faster, right? And it's the whole feedback loop. The quicker we can do that, the better off we're going to perform on the floor, and then the more information, valuable, reliable information providing to our team members, and they can then make better decisions and ultimately increase our efficiency and throughput.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
So I agree with both gentlemen, especially the fact that, taking action with the data, I think is so important. I read an amazing article on Modern Machine Shop about lights out, about the fact that, having this machine monitoring system, that it's not presented as a big brother type of a presentation. So knowing that and giving your employees that peace of mind will allow you to use that data for to help them, to be a resource to them. And when they see that in action and they don't see you, digging down on efficiencies and utilization and starting it off with tool life and resources and how can we help you, versus, what can we get out of you? A mentality, I think that helps set the foundation first and foremost, and then taking action. I think that, all the data in the world doesn't really matter if there's no action items, that leadership and management take upon themselves to become resources to their team. So that I believe is essential. Right now, our main focus is on-time delivery, quality products. Efficiency, utilization is out the door. That we're not even talking about it right now. We're just putting our main focus in making sure that any parts expected of us, and it's been very stressful, honestly. Last week I was on a Zoom meeting with colleagues of mine, not in manufacturing, but in business, and I broke down. I was like, I don't want to let my team down. I don't want to let my customers down. I feel honored to be in this position that I know my parts are going into the medical devices, that scientists are using my parts to find a cure. That is a huge responsibility, and it's heavy on my shoulders. And so I don't want that to trickle down to my team. I want to make sure that as things come up, we address it, we deal with it, and that the data speaks for itself. And right now, our main focus in our huddles and our meetings are focused on, we're doing amazing stuff. This is what I talk about in outreach. This is how I promote manufacturing. I say all the time, we touch lives. This has never been truer than today. And so my team, and even their families, they feel honored to be part of this. And, I spoke earlier privately to you all about the fact that at least we have an option. We have an option to come into work. So if I lost 50% of my business because, other industries are down right now, I have nothing to complain about, nothing, and so when you take that into perspective and you know that you're actually touching lives, we're doing exactly what we've been preaching all these years. Going back to Bill's comment earlier, it's not your grandfather's shop anymore. It's very modern, it's very technical. And this is proof, this is a testament to that. So I'm just, ecstatic that we're part of this history making.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I think it's funny as a manufacturing technology company, somebody who's been in the industry for only 5 years, I've learned how much of an impact the manufacturing ecosystem makes on the physical world that we interact with every day. Oftentimes when we're hiring, I talk to the first thing I talk about is how this phone in my hands wouldn't be possible. The way that we communicate, the way we talk, the way we interact every day wouldn't exist without the manufacturing technology advances of the last. Bill Byther, on that side, obviously, you were worked in manufacturing engineering. Now you own a technology company. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your feelings on I guess the enablement in this time, like what we're really focused on, how you can help companies in this time to either persevere or even retool, or anything that we can use that technology to do to kind of build first of all solutions for today, but then looking a little bit more. And then I want the rest of the panel to talk a little bit about what we kind of see the future holding for the industry.
Thanks, Graham. So like the panelists really referred to, having access to data allows your operations to be more nimble, helps you make decisions, helps you, in some cases, if you have the equipment, run lights out. And the way that we really help our customers with that is really access to data and being able to have a product that very easily can be configured to our customers' needs. An example might be something as simple as if you're running, say, lights out machining, if you have a Swiss machine that's bar fed, you might be able to run that for 4, 5, 6, maybe even 8 hours without attendance. So having that data accessible remotely and being able to be notified if something goes wrong, and even better, when you have to go into preventatively replace a tool or a spindle, that can be very, very valuable. So that's the type of insight that, like just speaking for Machine Metrics, that we can offer our customers. And then as I mentioned before, we're really trying to figure out ways to help our customers through this crisis. I mean, it's a real difficult time for everybody. I think in manufacturing we have it easier than other industries, as was pointed out, but there's still a lot of challenges, right? And it's not just I look at the data now and I see that immediate drop and it's flattening off, but I do worry about just the overall economic condition that this is going to sort of we're going to be faced with over the next months, quarters, and maybe even longer. And we want to do what we can to really help our customers get through this and give them the tools and the data they need to be competitive and successful during this time.
Yeah. We're just to the audience coming in. I'll do my best to answer them as many as we can in the time that we have. Almost like, shifting gears a little bit, to kind of what Bill had mentioned at the end there on, kind of what we're seeing, the outcomes. Obviously nobody has a crystal ball here, but we are hearing that in times like these, you're seeing, accelerations of transformations, right? And companies looking to insulate themselves from future crises and other variances in the market. I'd love for each of our panelists to talk a little bit about that for them, and how they've been able to either where they see the industry heading, and from a technology standpoint, from how manufacturers can really insulate themselves and be more agile to adapt to the future of where we see the industry heading. Let's start with Anissa, and then we'll work to Mike and Bill.
Sure. So, business strategy, always been people first. And no matter how much technology I have, I've spent $7 million in the last 6 years. So I'm all about technology. I'm all about automation. Automation for me doesn't replace, or at least for this industry that I know of, doesn't replace people, it replaces tasks. And so that's important. And I think that this is our time to shine. Going back to just people, we always, we're always complaining about the workforce gap. We're always because manufacturing, where's our biggest cost? It's in our people. And retaining and retraining our people, I think has been our number one issue. Whether it's people that have been working in old manufacturing, we want them to adapt, or just finding bodies that show up. And so I feel that giving our employees right now, going back to what Mike said, accommodating their schedules, flexible hours, understanding if they have fear, being a resource to them right now will give them a lot of peace of mind and will build that loyalty for the future, because a lot of their family are at home and aren't bringing in income. So they feel, in one hand, that they're privileged, that they have the opportunity to at least get a paycheck, and they're making overtime, and they're, it's business as usual, and that option is there for them, right? But as soon as that cuts off and we start eliminating positions and, laying people off, we are taking a risk that when then that pipeline starts filling and the faucet turns on, that they're just going to come right back. And so it's very important. And these are decisions that I make every day. Whether I have to have, usually I have an operator on 3 machines. Sometimes now they're on 2 machines or 1 machine, and they're cleaning or learning or updating work instructions or going back to standardizing and just figuring out where's their high payoff activity is right now, and not just necessarily just cutting hours and sending people home. And I think that is going to build the work culture in your company for years ahead. What you're doing today is going to define you as a company, regardless if you're in manufacturing or not. It really is. And I think that this is an opportunity for us to shine or not shine. And we get to make those decisions and make those sacrifices.
Mm. What about you, Mike?
So Anissa and I are very much aligned when it comes to culture.
Hmm.
It is all about people. And when you talk about technology, we've invested millions and millions of dollars over the past several years on whether it's automation solutions or equipment that processes work at a much faster pace. However, I've basically committed to my team that we're not going to put technology and replace a person and get rid of a person. It might replace a task, someone does. But what that allows us to do is take that team member and upskill that person for a higher earning job. We're starved for talent in our industry. We don't have enough people that are going into CNC machining, and there's been a lot of work and effort and training put towards that, but we're still at a deficit, and we'll be that way for a while. And to Bill's point a little while ago, we might hit a dip as an industry because of the shift in COVID and what that's doing to certain markets. But long term, this is going to be a positive result for advanced manufacturers. Work is going to return to this country. I talked to the CEO of a robotics customer of ours last month when this just started to hit. And he said, you know what? We're in good shape. We have supply. But come the fall, he goes, I'm going to get my entire supply chain. This is a global company. I'm going to get my whole supply chain team together and make sure that we're sourcing in this country. And that's going to happen. There's going to be a huge supply chain shift, which means we need to be ready with not only people, but technology to support that. Because the only way we're going to be able to grow is the ability to combine that, train our team members up, be flexible, and serve the needs of what's going to be coming within months and certainly over the next few years of the influx of work that's going to hit in our industry.
I'm super excited to talk about that. I know Bill has a number of thoughts on that, Bill Berrien, too, because you spoke really eloquently on this topic last time. You can speak to the current topic, but I'd love for you to, also take on, kind of this supply chain reorganization and, where we see things heading. Bill, please take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. So prior to my manufacturing time and all, I spent 9 years in the SEAL teams, so commanding SEAL platoons. And they always say once you leave the SEAL teams, you spend the rest of your life trying to recreate them. And I really feel like advanced manufacturing is that type of environment where you're talking about highly cohesive teams, very well trained, trying to do outsized things. And I think you see it in these crisis situations where you need to, pivot on a dime to react to customer needs. It's not at all about central command and control. No, I mean, you're looking for these highly trained individuals to be able to understand the objective, understand the goal, and individually problem solve in order to get there. So, when you have like five different part numbers across the shop, all needed within a week, it's not a controllership issue. It is very much about individual initiative and individual training. And, it has to be that people culture of technology enabling the members of your team, whether it's the investments that Anissa, Mike, and myself have been making over past years in machines, in the quality technology, the ERP systems, machine metrics. It is that very important investment there. But Graham, if I could actually instead pick up on a different point of Mike's around the upskilling, and I spoke about it in our last webinar, that I think that we as a society have this glaring gap in how we upskill people. Not, where the pendulum is coming back. It's looking much better in terms of come out of high school and technical colleges, and that, up through sort of the full-time schoolhouse type training, coming into advanced manufacturing, looking much better there. But as a society, I do not think that we have figured out how to take someone who is 25 years or older and upskill them in ways that keep them on this curve of technology development. The legacy industrial era models of full-time school paid by the student in the hope of a job on the other side. That just does not work for those that are 25 years old or older, who you love the work they do, they love the work ethic, but you need to get them upskilled onto some of this new technology. And for it, it's great for the, the GE Healthcares of the world and the big companies that can create their own internal training programs. But for the companies that are the size of Anissa's, Mike's, and I, these small, medium-sized enterprises, it is difficult and costly to upskill your team, because you're taking one person off to be trained, and you're basically taking another person off to do the training. What I'm saying, I've got a bunch of ideas on how to solve that, but it does have to be a different model. It's not going to be the legacy model of, send them to full-time school, and God forbid it's at their own expense. It's just those kind of things. The legacy models just don't work. And as a group, we need to be thinking differently about how we upskill. And if we can crack that nut, I think the future is incredibly bright. And we're going to get more and more people on that sort of Moore's law data curve because it's going to be applying to manufacturing before we know it. So just wanted to share those thoughts a little bit off question, but I think Mike teed it up with his comment about upskilling, and Anissa just talking about all the investments that she's made in this equipment, that you want your current team to realize that opportunity. You want them to be paid more. You want them to create more value, but we got to figure out some of those how to crack that nut differently.
Yeah, beautifully said, Bill. Other Bill, our Bill. Any comments on upskilling on the workforce?
Yeah, I think what they'll
We got a little bit of a connectivity. I'm surprised our first one on the panel so far. Well,
to give you the ability to provide the instructions, and then I think is going to, if you can take that tribal knowledge and include that into the product, you'll be able to bring your workforce up to speed much faster.
We had a little glitch at the beginning.
Looks like I
Bill.
might have an internet problem.
Connectivity problem, but again, nothing worse than any of us have experienced over the last couple months. We totally agree. I think looking at workforce optimization, is one of the keys. And I was at a World Economic Forum McKinsey event that I told some of these panelists about a couple of weeks ago, and they actually suggest that it's probably the top way for manufacturing to evolve into the next generation of manufacturing. So some of a number of questions coming in, so I'm gonna try to get to them quickly, but there's two things that on that front. Number one, right now on the shop floor, how are you enabling your shops to continue to run through either through remote capabilities, social distancing? How are what other changes have you seen and had to enable to make sure that you can continue doing what you do best? We'll start with maybe start with Mike, and we'll go to Bill, then Anissa.
Sure. So I've done a lot of thinking in the last this week in particular about, all right, what's post COVID-19 look like, right? For the country, for the state, for our company. What are the changes that we've made now that are gonna persist, and how we're operating differently, and the awareness, the cleaning, the level of cleaning that we're doing now is nothing that I don't think any of us ever would have expected or anticipated. But I think all of us, the awareness is at a level that even when you walk into a grocery store or sign a slip, all right, who touched the pen? And you're thinking in different terms. So how does that translate to the shop? Ultimately, we're all about safety, health, and wellness first, getting back to the people component. And we've done a lot of good work there, but we need to continue to digest the things that have been successful the last several months, and what do we want to carry forward. And I really think the focus on flexibility and giving our team members the allowance to flex even during the day, like we maybe never had a need to do, but Maybe now they have to. And we have to be open to that, because at the end of the day, it's all right. It's not what you got done in that hour. What are you getting done over the course of a day and a week? And it doesn't matter if it's done at 7 in the morning or midnight, it's getting done, right? So, and that's where the flexibility and the upskilling, to Bill's point, we launched the All You Acuron's Lifelong Learning University last year, because we want, to Bill's point, it's all about training. And to Anissa's point, we've got to give our team members the ability to learn. And it's painful. It's hard for a 50, 75 person company to make that investment. We are going to take an individual and put a person in that coordinator role because we feel it's that important. And that individual will help facilitate learning. And I don't care if it's reading a cookbook. If you stimulate your mind and you're in that learning mode, that's going to benefit you professionally as well as personally. And if we can create that mindset across our company, we're going to be much more flexible, much more adept to solve the challenges that are going to come down the road for us.
Yeah, that's an amazing, I couldn't agree anymore, Mike. Just a quick note, we have just a couple minutes left. I'll do my best to stay after for a couple minutes and if our panelists are gracious enough to grant a few more minutes, we can stay, try to answer some of the questions because we've got a lot of them coming in. But I also want to give Bill and Anissa the chance to respond to that question. Before we go into that really quickly, I just want to make sure that everybody who is here now is aware that we will have a number of other panels coming up. Machine Metrics is, in the middle of our COVID response program, where we are providing, free solutions, throughout the industry to manufacturers, that maybe have never even heard us before, but to pivot into or retrofit their manufacturing into the production of components. There really cannot be enough of that. And we're here with both solutions and consulting services to help, during this really difficult time. We do have another webinar really focused in on remote capabilities next week with our partners from AWS, the Cloud Advantage. We do urge you guys to sign up. We have another week to go. I know we have a lot of people here probably already signed up for this one as well. And we are really excited for our third report on the impact of COVID, this time focusing on more of a global stage. That one will be on April 21st at 1 p.m. Registration is not quite available yet, so bear with us, but it'll be announced momentarily. All this will be sent out in email afterwards. Now that I'm done with my plugs and promotions. Getting back to the questions at hand, Bill and then Anissa, we were talking about workforce optimization for the future, like today, how you're enabling on the shop floor, and then also into the future.
Anissa, you want to tackle first?
Sure, whatever you prefer. I can take it. So I think going just back to what we said earlier about work culture and being there for your team, I think that we have the masks available. Nothing's mandatory right now. Masks and gloves are not mandatory. They're available. We passed out individual hand sanitizers. Us managers, we walk the shop floor. We remind them not to get too close. Even sometimes it's almost impossible in a manufacturing setting, but they're aware of it. We have posted washing hands. We wash down the machines between every shift. And so we're taking as many precautions as possible. But then there's the more personal touch. For instance, I have somebody on my team that I've asked to run errands for people, like even the toilet paper issue that we had. We had a single mom that was not able to find toilet paper, and it was really heartbreaking. She has a small child at home, and this is a problem for her. So we helped her with that. And we also we do a lot of outreach. Outreach is part of our core values. And I'm a big believer that they're not just pretty words on the wall, that we have to actually, keep each other aligned towards those core values. And this was a perfect opportunity to reach out to our community. So my team gets lunch, and that's just giving back to the community, giving back to my employees. It's a win-win. And so, again, this is buying that loyalty. And even though it's authentic and I do it because I care, I also, as a business owner, know that I'm laying the foundation. And some people may forget it, and some people won't. And I'm counting on those that don't forget it. And I feel that this is also a great opportunity, although we do have curriculums, we do have formal training. Right now, we're not looking at that right now. We're looking at more, how do we keep everyone busy, whether it be cleaning down the machine, and making them feel that this is an opportunity. But more even importantly than all of that is that it's so, uncertain. Everyone is afraid. And as leaders in this industry and business leaders in general, it's our job to give that hope and peace of mind to our team. And so if I'm frantic every time a customer calls me and I walk out on the shop floor, that's not going to help anyone. And so giving them stability, letting them know, being transparent, and letting them know that we're in this together and this will pass. And when it passes, that's, we're going to look back at this and say, okay, what were the best practices? What did we do right? What did we do that wasn't so right? And so having that 2020 vision and just being very mindful, taking a step back and understanding it's not, at this point, it's not profit margins. It's people's lives. It's asking, how is your family? Is anyone affected by this? And having those one-on-ones with your team and touching hearts. If we're not doing that today, I don't know what will it take for us to do that. So I actually have blocked time every day. I used to have it blocked a week, a day a week, that I would just randomly, go in the shop and just grab someone that I didn't talk to for a couple of weeks. And now it's every day for at least an hour. I go on the shop floor and I just, I tell them about my family and I listen about theirs. And that's what's, I think, very important, is approaching it from a human factor and not just technology, production, efficiencies. Of course, yes, everything, but this is not the time for that, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautifully said. Bill, some final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I guess I couldn't agree more that the cultural pieces are so important, and that flexibility around, how do we get through this all to the other side. I didn't know if I was going to share, but I figured I will. One of the sort of leadership sort of thoughts or mantras that I've shared with our team here was a little saying. The saying here is, be.
Yep.
There you go. Be where you are. And, I do a lot of reading in Stoicism, and there's a certain Stoic aspect to that there's only so much you can control. And, make peace with, do what you can to control what you can, but make peace with the rest. But there's also a side of that, sort of be where you are statement, which is wherever you are, in whatever circumstances, rest of the family at home, kids there, homeschooling, all of that, appreciate it for the different reality that it is, because it's going to be fleeting. But it gives you a new perspective, and that perspective can be, family dinners every night because everyone is home. And, just that sort of being present aspect of, again, you can't control everything that's happening. There is a lot out of your control, but, number one, make peace with it. And number two, try to appreciate the different perspective that it might offer. So, parting thoughts.
Thank you for that, Bill. It's always awesome. I just want to thank our panelists so much for being here today. Thank you for the people who've attended, that have stayed all the way through. A number of you stayed after the hour. We're so thankful. Again, our webinar series is going to continue. We'll continue to post updates on our blog and through social media constantly on the impact of coronavirus on manufacturing. Feel free to check out our COVID response program. We've set up a dedicated microsite for those of you interested in trying to enable more remote work and social distancing on the shop floor during this difficult time. And just thank you again for the amazing insights from our panelists. Thank you to our co-founder, Bill, for joining us today. And I'm very excited and look forward, to our next coverage and for the future of manufacturing. So thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, bye everyone.